Elias had always been the guy who tried, who dreamed, who stayed up late imagining the life he wanted, but somehow, no matter how hard he worked, no matter how many books he read, or late nights he endured, he kept failing, not little failures either, big ones that left him questioning everything: his decisions, his abilities, even his worth. And like most people, he had started to wonder if maybe success was just for other people. Here's the thing about failure: most people look at it backward. They see failure as the result of bad luck, of being unlucky, or not being smart enough. They tell themselves, "I'm just not meant for this," and that thought becomes the chain that keeps them stuck. But the truth is much harsher, and also much more freeing. Failure isn't a curse. Failure is a signal that you are thinking or acting in ways that are keeping you from achieving what you want. The key is not avoiding failure, it's understanding it and using it as your guide. Elias learned this lesson the hard way. 4 years. He poured hours into every project, convinced that effort alone would guarantee results. He stayed late at work. He read every book he could get his hands on about success and productivity, and he watched others rise while he stayed in the same place. One night, after yet another rejection, he sat alone in his tiny apartment staring at the ceiling and asked the question we all fear: why am I still failing? It wasn't a question about money, or career, or recognition. It was a question about life, about purpose, about whether all his struggle meant anything at all. Then something unexpected happened. In the quiet, Elias remembered a lesson his grandmother once told him when he was a boy. She said, "Elias, being right isn't the goal. Being wise is." People fail because they fight to be right instead of learning what the world is teaching them. At the time, he didn't understand. But now, staring at the peeling paint on his wall, he realized she was speaking about him. He had been trying to be right in his opinions, right in his approach, right in the way he thought success should look. And in doing so, he had blinded himself to the lessons right in front of him. The next morning, Elias made a simple decision. He would stop trying to be right. Not stop trying entirely, stop trying to insist that his way was the only way. He began to observe instead. He listened to mentors without judgment. He studied the failures of others not to compare himself, but to extract lessons. He examined every setback with curiosity instead of shame. Why did that deal fall through? Why did that project fail? What could he do differently next time? Slowly, patterns emerged. He realized he had been making the same mistakes over and over, not because he was unlucky or incapable, but because he was trying to fit life into a box that didn't belong to him. He had been using effort as a hammer, trying to force doors open instead of learning which doors were meant for him. Months passed, and for the first time, Elias began to see small wins, not big, flashy victories, but quiet ones, the kind that build silently until they become unstoppable. A client complimented his insight. A mentor asked for his advice. A project that would have been a disaster if approached the old way now turned out successful. And with each small success came a shift in his confidence, not arrogant confidence, but a grounded belief that he could navigate life with wisdom instead of ego. Elias learned another critical truth. Your environment, your habits, even your friends can keep you failing just as much as your mistakes. He started choosing carefully who he listened to, what he consumed, and how he spent his energy. He discovered that failure often isn't a reflection of your talent, but a reflection of your inputs, the people around you, the routines you follow, the mindset you feed daily. By changing these, the world didn't suddenly become easier, but he became sharper, more focused, more able to act decisively where it mattered. The biggest lesson came when he faced a failure that could have broken him. A project he had poured months into fell apart spectacularly. Old Elias would have spiraled. He would have cursed the timing, blamed others, and retreated. New Elias did something different. He sat down, listed everything that went wrong, and then asked the hardest question of all: what is this teaching me? It was humbling. It was painful. But within the failure, he found clarity about his limits, clarity about his strengths, and clarity about the exact steps he needed to take next. That day, he realized something powerful. Failure isn't an enemy. It's a teacher disguised as a wound. And wisdom is the skill of learning from that wound before it scars you forever. Years later, Elias looked back at all the times he had been stuck. He realized that the secret wasn't working harder, it wasn't finding shortcuts, it was thinking smarter, choosing wisely, observing deeply, and embracing failure as a tool instead of fearing it as a curse. And the moment he embraced that, success stopped being a distant dream. It became a habit, a lifestyle, a result of consistent, intelligent action. So if you are still failing today, ask yourself, are you trying to be right, or are you trying to be wise? Are you learning from every setback, or are you blaming, resenting, and repeating the same mistakes? Stop trying to force life into your expectations. Stop trying to be right about how it should go. Open your eyes, observe, listen, adapt, learn. That is how failure becomes your stepping stone instead of your trap. That is how wisdom turns every defeat into a victory. Elias' story isn't unique. It's a story you can write for yourself starting right now. The choice is yours. Will you keep fighting to be right, or will you learn to be wise and finally turn your failures into the fuel that propels you forward? The answer isn't easy, but it's simple. Wisdom always beats being right. Always. Remember this, the world doesn't reward effort blindly. It rewards those who learn, adapt, and grow through every failure. Choose to be one of them. Choose wisdom. And watch as the doors you never imagined start opening for you.